I've had this video idea in mind for a long time, and I wanted it to be constructive. It just took me a while to get comfortable. We're 5 years into The Sims 4's life, and it's hard to believe that sometimes. The team have done a lot to add on to the game, but players are still disappointed. Why is that? It seems that when people talk about Sims 4, they say something is off about it and that it's too shallow compared to previous Sims titles. I definitely don't feel that they're wrong, and I'm going to elaborate on why. In the meantime, I'd ask you what your problems are, what you feel is fixable, and what could be done about the problems as you see them. I want to be very, very clear here. Not all of the systems I'm going to talk about are bad, but due to the nature of the video, I'm going to focus on those areas where I could see improvement. Even if you love Sims 4, maybe you can agree with some of it. I'm hoping for civil discussion on the topic. Whether it's an expansion or patch, a lot of the improvements that have come to The Sims 4 have been additions in one way or another. Cast story mode, toddlers, terrain tools. It's nice to have new things, and the community's generally very excited for them. But I see a problem with the fact that we haven't had any overhauls to fix core problems. See, tacking things on leaves you with the same problems but with a new function. If that function doesn't alter the gameplay in a meaningful way, when you're done playing with it, you're back to square one. The same is true of DLC. Because the DLC that comes out for Sims 4 is so frequently self-contained and not modifying how things work in other areas, it's adding width without adding depth, leaving the game in the same shallow state we have dealt with for 5 years. The list of things in the game is huge, but they don't interact with one another very often, and no packs have come out that say, modify the relationship system, or make emotions somehow more interesting, or tie into careers and make them better. New careers are added, you play them, and then you have zero reason to go back to the old careers. Half the time, there's this new work from home thing, and they're trivially easy. This causes the effect where for about 10 days after a pack, everything is super active, people are playing, and every day, a huge chunk of the player base experiences everything that came in the pack, but without a reason to re-explore the older content in a new light. Being very honest, the base game has serious issues. On its own, it's pretty weak, and we're in this place where we rely on a volume of content to make things interesting and provide a variety of activities. I feel that improvements to areas of the base game that under-delivered at launch are necessary to satisfy the community, and really the only option that Maxis has, given there are too many packs to attempt to right things in those areas. Let's look at some of 4's weak points and what could be done about them. Traits are the first big flaw I want to touch upon. The traits in this game lean far, far too heavily on the emotion system. Nearly every trait is somehow tied to emotions, with only a few offering unique benefits. Even where they differ, they're in groups that are very similar. Geeks and ambitious Sims get stressed after a time if something they like doesn't happen, either playing video games or getting a promotion at work. It's a simple timer that runs in the background and resets when you do the thing that they like to do. The emotional traits all provide small, random bonuses or penalties to emotion, but they're so small that they're nearly forgettable. Given that traits are the one non-changing thing about Sims, they should be the thing that differentiates them. Two Sims should be very different from one another in a meaningful way, either through behaviors, unique behaviors that are not just renamed, or gameplay bonuses or penalties. The bonuses and penalties will tend to steer what a player does with that sim. You can still do anything, but they may do this or that particularly well. While I was happy to see Create a Sim story mode added, with weak traits it's a system that serves only to randomize starting conditions that will be neutralized as soon as you have some good objects in the house that let you take total unwavering control over a Sim's emotional state. The traits cease to matter, and thus they no longer guide the player decisions or provide value or penalties. This means all the Sims end up the same by mid-adulthood or sooner. An overhaul of traits with unique attributes and behavior drivers is going to be necessary to salvage this situation. There aren't so many traits that it's impossible, and many of the bonuses and behaviors are already in the game in some way and could be attached to traits to make Sims more interesting. I've never talked about my feelings about the emotion system. See, in a way, I feel like it's a step forward. Sims are actually angry or sad. However, there's 2 points I want to make about things in this area. First, I don't feel that Sims are emotional enough in the hands of a decent player. There is this whole system built up where you can get rid of bad moodlets by, say, hitting a punching bag or talking to yourself in the mirror or telling someone about your problems and talking it out. The problem is that aside from emotions like uncomfortable that grow in strength from being able to hold it in, many moodlets are simply +1 or 2, and if you have even slightly positive things going on, it negates the system. Many moodlets only last a few hours, meaning they pass by before they have a real impact. Only things like death actually get Sims down, and they may not get down even then, and this makes them emotionally pretty flat. Like, someone just punched me in the face, but because I had lobster thermidor for lunch, I'm not even mad. Because of negatives being overridden, it means you almost never use the cool moodlet decay system I mentioned. Many moodlets all have the same 3 or 4 hour duration as well, so they don't keep you down very long. You just do the same actions repeatedly to keep Sims happy, or pick one of the various positive moodlets like inspired. Emotions also tend to be an unimaginative reward for so many actions, but when it's simply something like +1 happy for 3 hours, it doesn't even feel like a reward. Under the hood, there need to be a lot more hidden bonuses and penalties. Let me draw on something few people probably know about as an example. In Get to Work, there's an espresso maker. If you create the perfect pre-work shot, you get a tiny boost to career gains. There are hardly any of these in the game, so you can't strategize and get your sim an amazing boost, and nothing will really drag down your sim's performance. So to an extent, emotions of all kinds, adding so simply, are a problem, and it's far too easy to override the bad ones. What if, instead, immediately after an event, the moodlet is stronger and decays in strength as time passes, and you can take advantage of the clear my head or vent my problem system to help your sim get back into a happy state. This would require some tuning on what it takes to hit emotional death, but it makes more sense to me. What do you think? To be clear, I'm talking about big life events here, like getting a promotion, losing a loved one, getting in a fight, or a cheating spouse. A pass through emotions and improving durations and strengths for certain ones could help a lot with this problem. This also ties into emotional traits, as what if hot-headed Sims get angrier when they're angry instead of +1 random moodlets? This could trigger player Sims to be more dynamic and actually use the altered behaviors that emotions bring. Additionally, you could add more penalties to emotions and boosts like the pre-work shot to object-specific activities to make them more rewarding. Relationships are another problem I see. My sim doesn't care where his social fulfillment comes from, whether he's married or not, and it's just as good to talk to a random person on the street compared to a long-term friend. I elaborated in my university video on what I'd like to see in a friendship system, but adding some purpose to friendships under the hood, like it being more fulfilling to talk to an actual friend, and maybe social decaying a little slower when you have loved ones and regularly see them, that could definitely help with this. Sims should never flirt outside marriage unless their relationship romantically has turned sour. And maybe have it to where sharing common interests by hooking into the skills and traits system could help Sims make better friends. It's not very useful to know a Sim's traits right now. It's just not. In the past, keeping Sims happy rewarded you all by itself with gradual accrual of points to spend on rewards. There were also systems that described short-term desires, like wanting to kiss your date or attain a new level in a skill the sim is interested in. The Sims 4 has the Whims System, or had, sort of. See, it has been kind of buggy, and new additions have not been made with the various packs that came out, or at least not substantial additions. Some players grew to dislike the system because of how samey and repetitive it is. You can always have the same 3 whims and know you can sort of guide what a sim is into. Because the list of possibilities is so short, the same whims come up. You'd also often complete them by accident. Whims should have been a system that gave players a little optional direction in the short term, letting you, the player, make your sim happy by meeting their immediate desires. See, life isn't just about attaining big goals, but also the little things in the short term that make you happy. But by default, whims are now off, and while I support being able to turn them off, they are just absent. These short-term goals need to be re-enabled by the player, and certain ones may not complete because they're bugged. This decision to disable rather than fix and add whims eliminated a system that should have served to give players short-term goals and drive the direction of gameplay. It makes Sims more like people with small desires throughout the day. At this point, we have no idea what our own Sims want, which contributes to all Sims feeling the same. So instead of having what Sims want, we only have what players want through the aspiration system. Back in 2014, I thought that having aspirations be changeable was an intelligent design decision, as opposed to the largely locked-in lifetime wish system. At that time, though, many of the goals for aspirations were challenging. Not always in a good way either. See, things like make a sim so angry they die is a pretty tough thing to pull off for many players. This is an example I always turn to because it's one of few I remember because it was so absurd. The team responded to criticism that aspirations were too hard by toning them down. I had to go through all the aspirations on my site and change the checklist. Instead of just focusing on the absurd, it felt like the challenge was completely stripped from aspirations in that patch. Things became extremely easy to complete, and with no skill challenges like what existed in Sims 3, they are the main place to turn for game-sanctioned goals. Being able to swap them while also being in a position where they're extremely easy means you just flip through them as you go and you can knock them out. A few in each sim lifetime, many more if you want to. The patch that toned these down stripped the game of one area where it had a little depth and challenge. A good number of the reward traits for these are good in concept, but at times have been broken, like the Book of Life. I think the team should make sure all these work properly and at the same time should have been adding goals with each pack. The fact there isn't an aspiration for many different areas of the game is a bummer because it gives players less reason to chase those rewards. In the Sims 3 days, you'd fire up a sim, pick a lifetime wish, and that would sort of guide your play with each sim. In Sims 4, since they're all very similar in structure, you're just swapping while changing which skill you're using, and they magically autocomplete with few bumps in the road. The game needs something like Sims 3's challenge system, or at the very least to have yet another look at aspirations that already exist, while maybe adding some in order to beef up the system and provide players with goals. It's a sandbox game by nature, and you can make your own challenges, but many players want ways for the game to direct their play a little. A sim who pursues best-selling author and a sim who pursues friend of the world should be very different. All in all, I feel that players are right to be upset that many of the packs that come out have been sparse in the traits and aspirations areas. The traits list for previous games has been staggering. This has led to the expectations that we have, but it's a life sim. Traits and goals are the main ways to make Sims different from one another. One of the easiest goals for aspirations is to max a career. So there really should be tons of these, with reward traits differentiating them. It may not be true of things like conservationist, but what about something like leader of the free world? Playing a politician in city living, becoming the leader of a nation is a big deal and should take some serious work. It's definitely a lifetime goal. Every career track is mostly made equal by extremely simple and repetitive requirements. Now, this would be fine if and only if they also added in unique rewards to those careers so that it feels different to play a politician and a blogger. But because the interactions they get are so hollow, there really isn't a lot to it. All the old Sims 3 rabbit hole careers still had unique rewards, so you would choose to play different careers even though they're very similar. While I like the new work from home careers that were very needed, the problem is that you really should have a lot more you need to do during a workday, just from home. Having to knock out 2 interactions that take 30 some minutes is not nearly enough time to justify paying someone. I'd like work from home to take some effort and require me to plan out my day a little. See, it's a life sim. We aren't simulating a life without any obligations that need to be met. Making these trivially easy just makes people feel like they aren't even in a career. The 3 get-to-work careers are really the only examples that are very fleshed out. Only Scientist has awesome rewards, but the others are unique and very different to play, which is part of their charm. However, the decision to make the other career rewards, mostly emotional aura items, makes them all feel very similar. Those types of rewards can't come with you when your sim leaves home, and there's a big lack of new abilities that unlock from career progression. This means I don't fire up a sim and get excited to be a painter and explore what painter offers. I just get better easels and don't have to work very long. The only real driver to picking a career is money and work hour flexibility, because we know they aren't very unique. Unique rewards and unique or challenging requirements for careers is the answer, and some careers could be a bit more difficult just by their nature. So now let's talk about money. We kind of have too much of it. I brought up paying for college or student debt in my university video, and plenty of people were quick to tell me how awful our education system is in the US and that they don't want to be in debt in the game. I understood that loud and clear, but one reason I felt that way was I sort of want to have monetary goals again. I would like to pay for college in some way, aside from saving up to buy this cool ship to boost the environment score in my Sims house, which is what so much of money expense boils down to. I don't have anything to do with large sums of money. There are so few things that cost like 50,000 plus. So the fact I get tens of thousands in a week means all I can really do is make a mansion or buy one in the gallery. Once I have it, then what? It's not like I can go around buying up all the public lots in town. Even Sims 3's real estate system hit a dead end eventually, but it took quite a long time to afford expensive places like the science lab. You got some gameplay out of that, and the investment was pretty neat. Imagine if you could buy and rent out the apartments in San Myshuno or drop 200,000 on a helicopter, even if only for visual effect. Sims 3 had some really expensive sport cars, and the lack of those extremely expensive items is a letdown that continues to this day. No, I'm not calling for cars, but it would be nice to buy expensive things. Everything's handed to us now. Even with large amounts of money, I can't buy the strangely unavailable career rewards like the top secret computer without being a scientist. What if nicer lots were actually more expensive? What if you could buy different venues based on the packs you own and generate a side income from them that would pay off over the course of a generation? I really miss things like that, and I do feel it's a very simple thing to add some high dollar items and Honestly, a real estate system is just the rehash of another idea, but it's something that would be extremely easy for Maxis to implement. Next up is difficulty. The difficulty of the game has gradually crept downward over time after the abrupt changes on the aspirations patch. Too much money, not enough to do with it if you have it. My sim has no whims and I am in total control over what he wants, where he goes, and who his friends are. He has no desires, so I choose if they get married or not and to whom. Players not liking the easy careers. I see complaints in all these areas and I share some of them or I wouldn't have made this video. A suggestion has been to allow difficulty by choice. Games sanction difficulty slider or something. It'd require a lot of changes, or you could go with simple multipliers to gains in various areas. But it's the one way to keep people happy on both sides. Maybe increases in relationship decay, slow skill or career progression, or make it harder to earn money. You could even go Kerbal Space Program on this sucker and let people choose what areas they want to be harder or easier with some pre-made difficulties to start us off. This one is very generic, but it ties into everything here. Simulation lag and poor sim AI behaviors are extremely frustrating as a player. Why do we need a mod to unfreeze sims who get stuck? Why do sims never look forward at the queue to see what actions are coming up? Like, if I ask a sage for a spell because he's in conversation he wants to sit down, then I have to watch him stand up again to do the animation. I think just about everybody would agree that seeing our sims sitting and standing repeatedly break immersion and really drag things down. A lot of my suggestions for improvement are all related to a core idea that seems to have been embraced. The idea is that the player is in control and sims are just our dolls to play with and build our own stories. Story makers used to be a niche group, but now I feel the people who want to make their own stories are one of the only types of players, along with builders who are content. Players who really require good progression systems and rewards to chase are upset. Even if you don't require depth and enjoy things for how they are, realize that there are other groups out there who miss the depth in sims, who miss making wacky combinations and starting a new file and seeing how things play out, who want to do everything but want each new sim they make to be different. Sometimes it feels like the loudest voices in the room have come up with gripes and wants that I don't share. There are players wanting to play who have ideas about what is wrong and why they are not playing, and they are saying why. And those people could be converted with some improvements to the base game. I feel that these are a start to fixing up the Sims 4's base game experience. The base game is vital to enjoyment. It's the starting point for all other gameplay, and from there a lot could be touched up. Packs are fine, but as for the base game, I do not believe we need anything added unless it improves these things until the rough edges are sorted out, and this is part of why we are where we are. Plenty of people did complain and propose solutions way back in 2014 and onward. I know that. You've been there all along. Simply saying it's shallow without elaborating on why is not going to get us much of anywhere, so I took a stab at it. Are all of my ideas good? No, not likely. They need to be tested in the game, and a lot of them only work together. No Man's Sky turned a bad launch around in just around a year's time. They earned back the goodwill of their customers, and many people like the game now, even if it is not the original vision they had in mind. It is turning into something better, something fun, and it may go the route of Minecraft with many updates over the years. They are proof that it can be done. It may be too late if Sims 5 is already in development, but if by some chance we're going to have Sims 4 for a few more years, this discussion could be productive. I'm eager to hear what some of you think about all this, what I've got right and where you disagree. If you made it this far, thanks for watching and hearing me out. A friend provided a lot of feedback for this video and she should be thanked as well. You can Hit the bell to be notified of my new stuff, and we have a Patreon if you'd like to support the site and my channel. Have a great weekend, and remember to be polite in the comments section, please.